HarperCollins presents Why is Downing Street Painted Black? And 364 other fun London facts written and read by me, Jonnie Fielding. Introduction. Many years ago, I was asked to leave my job due to a lack of interest and enthusiasm. I'd been living in London for a decade, but I was deeply unhappy and desperate to leave the city. Neglecting the fact that I disliked immensely both London and history, I applied to become a London tour guide on the basis that it didn't involve sitting in an office. The tour company that employed me provided a woeful amount of information. I had to do pretty much all of the research myself, particularly if I wanted to do the job well, or at least not embarrass myself. I think it's fair to say that I didn't and still don't function particularly well in a corporate or academic environment. However, I am curious and happy to learn if it's on my own terms, and so it was that I began exploring London. Slowly, the city I abhorred opened up in front of me. I learnt how streets and places got their names. Through architecture, buildings and statues, I discovered how different periods of history slot together: the Roman, medieval, Tudor, Elizabethan, Stuart. I read about the Great Fire, about Christopher Wren and bombing during the Second World War. I cycled a lot, so started taking different routes, making a point of going down streets that were alien to me. I looked up at buildings, spotting fire badges, chimneys, crests, coats of arms, and down at the pavement noticing curbstone markings, coal holes and boot scrapers. I bought lots of books, but I learned a great deal by going into buildings, shops, churches and offices and talking to people, asking them why such and such was outside or why they had a thing sticking out of their wall. Sometimes they could tell me, sometimes they couldn't, and often they hadn't noticed it themselves. On a few occasions, I was even escorted out of buildings by burly security guards. With my newfound appreciation and understanding of London, I once again enjoyed living in this great metropolis of ours. But after a year or so, the tour company folded and I was back looking half-heartedly for jobs. I soon realised I was, by now, a fully fledged London geek, and what I loved most was walking around and chatting about it. So I decided to set up my own company, Bowl of Chalk, Cockney rhyming slang for walk, or at least a version of it. I made posters and stuck them in shop windows. 3 people came on my first walk in November around East London in 2011. They told other people, and for the next 9 years my business existed purely on word of mouth. All the while I never stopped learning things about London. In 2020, like many people, I was unable to work due to COVID. I wasn't allowed to give tours, and besides, there were no tourists, my main customer base. 2 years later, I was still struggling for business, but noticed a few other guides were infinitely busier than me. I decided to sit down and work out what they were doing differently. It took me about 10 seconds to work it out. They were nailing social media. I'd never particularly engaged with social media, and I realised I should probably pull my finger out and come up with a plan. During Christmas 2022, I discovered a really fascinating and quite bizarre fact I've included in this book, and it involves Chris Martin from Coldplay and Daylight Saving while out in South London with my girlfriend and stepdaughter. When I told one of my sisters about it on the phone, I said, "Everybody loves a fun fact." That was it. I decided to post on social media a fun London fact for each day of that year. I'm naturally drawn to stories that are strange, characters that are quirky, and things that were a bit weird, and London has them in abundance. But did I know 365 about the city? Before a walk one day I went to a cafe, sat down, and I wrote about 200 fun London facts off the top of my head. I figured that maybe 365 wouldn't be too much of a stretch. When I started posting the videos on Instagram at Bowl of Chalk that year, I had something like 400 followers. By the end of the year, it was 170,000. And now there's a fun London fact book. Hopefully you will enjoy listening to these 365 unusual and fascinating
Sample complete. Ready to continue?